All right, now we're going to talk about growth and decay. So in this first example, we're going to talk about growth. Okay, here we're talking about the price of housing. So if a house is expected to increase in value by 7.5%, and it's going to grow exponentially using this function. The value equals k times a to the power of t. Find the value of a. Okay, so in order to do this, a is the value that we've got there. Now, since it's growth, a has to be greater than 1. Okay, a has to be greater than 1 since it's a growth. Okay, a has to be greater than 1 always when we've got growth. Okay, so, and they've said that it's increasing by 7.5%. So if it was 100%, it would be 1.0, and so a value is going to be equal to, so 0.75% is equal to 0.075 as a decimal. So if it's increasing 7.5%, the a value equals 1 plus 0.075, the percent. So that means a equals 1.075. Okay. Now, if it was decreasing by 7.5%, I would have done 1 minus the decimal if it had been decreasing by that value. But this is increasing. Okay. So now, question B says find the value of k. So since I'm trying to find k, I'm going to rewrite this formula. Okay, so let's do that. I've got, for part B, I've got V equals k times 1.075 to the power of t. And I'm going to use the values that I have here. Okay. So I'm going to plug in 1 in for t, and I'm going to plug in 387,000. Okay, so 387,000 for V and 1.075, and then 1 for t. Okay, so now that I've substituted those values in, the only variable we have is k. So this to the power of 1 is simply that. So I need to divide both sides by 1.075, and then by doing that we end up with k, and then I get k is equal to, so this divided by 1.075 is going to give me $360,000. Oh, it's not dollars. Just 360. Okay. So how long is it going to take? So this gives me my equation now is V equals 360 times 1.075 to the power of t. Okay, because now I've got my k value and I've got my a value. Now part C says how long is it going to take to reach 550,000? So I'm going to do just like we did in the previous assignment. So I'm going to hit y equals, and I'm going to put in the value here, or the equation. So we've got 360,000, okay, and then the equation that goes up here is, oh wait, that's not right. Okay, 360,000, okay, times 1.075 to the power of x. Okay, and then on the next line, I'm going to type in the amount that we want to increase, 550,000. Okay, and so I want to see where they intersect, so I'm going to hit zoom, and I need to change the y maximum, so it needs to be higher than 550,000. So let's just make it 200,000. Okay, and let's graph it and see how this looks. Okay, so let's see. So something's not quite right. Oh, okay, it needs to be bigger than that, so let's try 600,000. Okay, because this has to be bigger than this value here, right? So now the graph is going to show up. There we go. So here's my exponential, but it doesn't really look that curved, and that's because it's growing at such a small percentage. As this number gets closer and closer to 1, it would be closer and closer to a straight line. So as this gets farther away from 1, like 2 or 3 or 4, then the exponential growth, it becomes much more curved. Okay, and just like in the previous example from the other assignment, to get the intersection, I'm going to hit second trace to calculate. I'm going to arrow down to intersect, and then it says first curve, and it's got my equation. I hit enter. It's got second curve. It's got this value. I hit enter, and then it says guess. We hit enter, and now it tells me that the how long will it take, and I've got a value of 5.860, so it will take 5.86 years. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let's do a question with decay now. Okay, so the value of a car after t years is given by an exponential model v equals k times 0.7 t plus c. K and c are constants, okay, and then so it's a curve like this. And the only thing they've given you, they've told you that we have a horizontal asymptote at 1,000, and they've given you a point on the graph. Okay, so, and the first question is, they want you to solve for c. So, from what we've learned so far, c is the value of the horizontal asymptote. So, c is going to be equal to 1,000. Okay. All right. So next, find the value of k. So we're going to use this information that v is 8,889 and t is equal to 3. So using that information, I'm plugging it into this equation here, and I'm replacing v with this value, and I'm replacing t with 3. Okay, so then I can say, okay, so first thing, 0.7 to the power of 3 is going to give me this value, this decimal. Then the next step is I'm going to subtract 1,000 on both sides, and then I get this. And then the final step is I divide both sides by 0.343, and then I'm going to get this value for k. Okay. So now I've got the values for k, and I've got the values for c. And so if I rewrite my equation, we've got this value for k, we've got this value for c, And they said find the initial value of the car. So when you're finding the initial value of something, that's when the time is 0 initially. So I'm going to plug in a 0 in for t, and anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So for example, I'm just going to type some random number, and caret to the 0 power, anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so I've got this plus 1,000, so V is going to be 24,000 at the initial time that the car was purchased. Okay, all right. So now the next question is, how long will it take for the car to have a final value of only $5,000? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like I did in the previous example, where I hit y equals. I'm going to type in my equations. So the equation here is 23,000 times 0.7 to the power of x plus 1,000. Okay, and then the other equation is we want to find out when it's 5,000. So I'm going to write in 5,000. Okay, and then I'm going to hit graph. But before I hit graph, I need to change the window. So I hit window, and the Ymax of 600,000 is way too big. We want to find out when it decreases to 5,000. So let's, but the highest value was 24,000, right? So let's change it to 25,000. Okay, and just see how it looks. All right. So there's my curve, and there's my intersection. So in order to figure out where the intersection is, then I'm going to type in second trace, and then to figure out the intersection, I'm going to hit 5, and then it says first curve, and it's got the equation. I hit enter. Then it says second curve, it's got 5,000. I hit enter. Now it says guess. I just hit enter, and now it's going to tell me that my intersection is 4.9041 blah blah blah. So to write it in 3 significant figures, here it is, and that is your notes.